What is the most boring movie ever made? Empire. It's a black and white movie made by Andy Warhol. It runs 8 hours and 5 minutes and shows you a picture of the Empire State Building. Nothing much happens. Was there a sequel? George Lucas was secretly tasked by Warhol to create a sequel entitled Empire Strikes Back, but Lucas took it way too far. OSHA Safety Guidelines video. That's because the whiners made us edit out the scenes about putting your dick in the meat grinder. 1517 Paris. The real heroes play themselves. But they're terrible actors. The writing is atrocious. The main event is only 5 to 10 minutes. And it's not until the end of the 90-minute movie. So it's just these guys' incredibly boring and normal life stories until the end. Another perfect example that not every heroic moment in real life needs a 90-minute feature. Film Monsieur. Can't say I've ever seen it, but Andy Warhol's Sleep is 5 hours of footage of a guy sleeping. I honestly don't get Warhol. I say this as someone who will try to find value in pretty much any kind of film. And someone who respects most any opinion on most any film. If someone tells you they enjoy Get Warhol's films, they're a fucking liar. I have my master's in contemporary art and I could tell you all about Warhol's film as a key predecessor to structuralism, so I get it. But my god, these avant-garde films are all horrendously boring. We took a field trip to MoMA to watch a selection, and with my best efforts I slept through probably 80% of them. Monsieur. Open Water is the most boring movie I've ever seen. Good Christ. Saw it in theaters and people started walking out. Saw it in an airplane and people still started walking out. I saw a really boring movie in the 90s called The Pallbearer. The Happening. Nothing happened. Asterisk. What? Question mark. No. Asterisk. In a similar vein, It Comes at Night. Spoiler alert, nothing ever comes. That was actually a very good, suspenseful movie. The title and the marketing were just completely wrong for that movie. There's a knockoff of Ratatouille that a friend got me as a joke called Ratatouille. It's only 45 minutes long, but it feels like a lifetime. I've seen the full thing twice. It's so bad. Danny Gonzalez on YouTube made a great video about this movie. You should check it out for a good laugh. I thought American Hustle was incredibly dull. Way overhyped. American Hustle is like watching an acting reel. Just a bunch of A-list actors acting at each other in over-the-top scene after over-the-top scene. I really wanted to see this and was super excited to see it in theaters. Unfortunately I had one, or a few, drinks too many, got bored trying to follow the plot, and fell asleep. It was the theater where you have a reclining sofa. It was a really great nap. War of the Worlds. 2005. No, not the Tom Cruise one. Nope. Not even the Asylum Pictures one. The low-budget, book-accurate 3-hour one directed by Timothy Hines. Why is it so long? Well, you know how in most films you'll see a character set off somewhere. Then it cuts or fades to their arrival. Not in this movie. See every step of the journey. But even leaving this aside, it's just so dull, and the acting and effects don't help. Now, according to the director, the distribution company who bought the movie just released the first completed edit. A rough cut, if you will. Not caring about quality. They just wanted to have a product with War of the Worlds on the cover out on the shelf in time to coincide with the Spielberg movie. A shorter version with most of the interminable walking scenes removed or pared down was released later on. Greater than not even the Asylum Pictures one. Hot damn, when that studio ranks above any movie, you know you're in for some shit. A lot of those plotless action movies are all the same, basically. It's why I don't watch superhero movies. You can guess the ending without seeing it. Yeah, I mean, if there was a movie called Batman Dies, I might see that. Because it would at least be different. A Wrinkle in Time. If you ever want to see gigantic Oprah Reese Witherspoon turn into a large piece of flying lettuce, and a horrible storyline, go right on ahead and watch the movie. I couldn't even get through it. They lost between $86 minus $186 million on that movie. At the least, the young kid's acting was insanely good, but the rest was why does my family drag me into these? Downsizing. It could have been such a good Black Mirror-style dystopian film, but it was absolute wank. It started out okay then fell apart. I didn't see this before commenting the same thing. I have never been so painfully uncomfortable in a theater as I was when sitting through that Vietnamese girl's awkward monologue on the types of fucking. I still don't know whether the writers meant that bit to be poignant or funny. After Earth, you'd hope and Mr. Night Shyamalan-directed movie starring Jaden Smith might be entertaining by virtue of being terrible, but they managed to keep it incredibly dull and by the numbers throughout. Strapping Will Smith into a ship for the entire time and naming him Cypher Rage was the final nail in the coffin. The English Patient. What do I win? Elaine Bennis, is that you? Just die already. Just die already. Quote. Ad Astra. I was so close to walking out or taking a nap, waited and waited for something good to happen, and it finally delivered. The credits. Crazy. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm probably boring as well. Nah, this movie was a mixed bag when it came to reviews. It just wasn't for me. I call it daddy issues in space. OMG, huge waste of time. Brad Pitt with one expression the entire film and a dull lead up to an anticlimactic scene. The Irishman. Half the movie is just De Niro talking into a camera. Greater than half the movie is just De Niro talking into a camera. That's every De Niro movie. You talking to me? No, he's talking to the camera. He just said that. I loved that movie, thought it was a really interesting world life they had. I just watched this movie and I actually thought it was pretty good. Different strokes, I suppose. Nobody mentioned Tree of Life yet. I actually love slow-moving, beautiful movies. The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Upstream Color. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Solaris. Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Yeah, Tree of Life put me to sleep. Like seriously. I don't know how it ended because I was comatose 1/3 of the way through. I loved Assassination of Jesse James. Battlefield Earth. When he just accepts that cavemen smelted gold down. Elephant. 2003. If it wasn't for the mystique that it was based off of the Columbine massacre, there would be no reason to watch this film, monsieur. I've also heard Jerry. 2002. Is the dullest movie ever made. It's just Matt Damon and Casey Affleck walking and hardly talking through the desert. Has anyone seen it to validate this? I heard Jerry was really bad, but I watched it and found it okay. It's cinematic. Just scenes that would normally be done really quickly take ages. At one point one of the characters gets stuck on a big rock in the desert and the other one decides to pile up some sand at the bottom to make it softer for him to jump onto, and it just shows him pushing this sand pile together for like 15 minutes while the other guy waits on the rock. I was like, what the fuck? But it has a vibe to it. The lighting is nice. I thought Elephant was really shit. What are you talking about? Elephant is the best film. I like lots of other movies directed by Gus Van Sant, but that one was the first I saw and I didn't watch any of his other movies for a long time because of the bad taste in my mouth from Elephant. I actually fast-forwarded that movie and was like, okay, cool, the school gets shot up. Anyways, let's do something else now. Rubber. By far the most boring movie. Don't know how I've watched it twice. Is that the one about a sentient tire killing people? Our tires are the enemy. I remember laughing at the parts where the tire blew stuff up, lol. I thought it was so funny. It's just so damn stupid, it's hilarious. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. The one with Mickey Mouse where he dances with a broom, monsieur. This is my new favorite badly describe a movie. Exactly. Awful description, but it perfectly identifies the movie. I remember trying to watch this as a kid. I put the VHS tape in and it ended up being porn. I was scarred for a very long time. Huh. Lol. You must have seen a different version of Fantasia than me. The funny thing is the music was still the same. And it also involved a dancing broom, Monsieur Stalker. I actually love this movie, but it's so goddamn boring. Albeit intentionally. Still, there's something about it that makes it hard to walk away from. And the cinematography is actually cool as fuck. I have described this movie as good to watch on a Sunday evening to make your weekend feel longer. Because it feels like it will never end. I really hated this movie. I hated it so much that when I clicked on this thread I instantly hit Ctrl+F to see if it was on here so I could complain about it. I think I thought that something would ultimately happen, and that's the only reason I kept watching. Spoiler alert, nothing does. The director actually said that he makes the first part boring on purpose so people would walk out. I wouldn't actually call it boring though. It's definitely not for everyone, as I found out, but as you said, you can't look away. Also, the first time I saw the tunnel sequence was suspenseful as hell. Genuinely was on the edge of my seat during that. The Goldfinch. It was based on an amazing book. It had a cast with quite a few well-known, including Nicole Kidman, Ansel Elgort, Sarah Paulson, Finn Wolfhard, and others. The story is meant to explore themes of overcoming grief, and the action is based around stuff like art theft, shootouts in Amsterdam, and doing acid in the desert. There's a little bit of something for everyone in the book. It's one of the best I've ever read. And the movie just sucked the soul right out of the narrative. It was pretentious and fell completely flat. They have all this amazing subject material to work with, and yet they managed to make the most boring and pointless movie that didn't even make sense the way they structured it. The actors give kind of shit performances, but honestly I blame the lame-ass script. The characters become bland. The dialogue is boring as hell. And the most meaningful moments fly completely under the radar because you're just waiting for it to be over. 2.5 hours of boring bullshit that could have been an amazing film had they paid attention at all to what they were doing. The original Great Gatsby. The new one tried to make up for it by having the camera cut every 0.5 seconds. Jack and Jill. The 2017 remake of Flatliners was insanely boring. My partner and I enjoyed it, but I only half-watched the original and it was all new to her. Funny people. It was not funny, but to be fair there were technically people in it. Mordecai. Boring and aggressively unfunny. If I wasn't stuck on a long-distance flight I would have asked for my money back. I've never sat through an entire movie hoping for at least one joke to laugh at. That never happened. Damn, some of the movies in here are really good. Have people just got no attention span anymore? Everyone's confusing movies they don't like with movies that are boring and emo. If it's so bad it's funny, or action porn, or cringy, then it's not boring. It's really dumb. Infinity War, The Irishman, Stalker. Even if you don't like these movies, I find it incredibly hard to believe they're the most boring movies anyone's ever seen unless they're exclusively watching the top 1% of entertaining movies. Even the guy here that says Arrival of a Train is the most boring, it's like fucking 15 seconds long. How is your attention span that short? I think the train comment was a joke. Really, any of the sequels to Friday the 13th after the third, they become plotless. The one where he went to space had a plot. A terrible plot, but it was a plot. He also went to Manhattan. I actually think the fourth one is the best, don't get me wrong. It is exactly the same as the first three, but it did everything they did better than they did it. The kills were the best in the series. The characters were somewhat memorable. Jason was actually acting like the Jason we know and love, while in the second and third they were still trying to find out what to do with him. And Crispin Glover, man, I gotta say, I like pretty much all of them except for Jason Goes to Hell. Probably the first one ever with that one guy just waving from a train. The sequel was better when he falls off the train. Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed is more very stupid than boring. It's a fuck you to the games. The idea of dialogue, etc., etc. Also boring. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.